How's it going, folks? Today I'm travelling back in time to hang out with my old mate Jack. It's Jack Daniels, but it's not Jack Daniels as we know it today. It's Jack Daniels the way it used to be over 115 years ago, and it's right here. So how does it stand up to the JD of today? Stay tuned to find out. Greetings from the Emerald Isle, whisky lovers. My name's Al, and this is Whisky Straight. What's up, whisky lovers? My name's Al, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Whisky Straight. Today, I'm going old style, but taking a look at the Jack Daniels Old No. 7 Legacy Edition, First Edition, which I've got right here. Now, I'm going to do that by telling you a little bit about the Jack Daniels history, how the whisky is made, the process behind it. Then I'll tell you what I think overall and compare it to the present day Old No. 7. And stay tuned to the end, because at the end I'm going to attempt to answer a question that divides the whisky world, and you'll really want to hear it. So before I do that, make sure you subscribe, hit the button down in the corner here, ring that bell to stay up to date with all things Whisky Straight, and you really don't want to miss what's coming up in the coming weeks and months. So unless you live under a rock in a land far, far away, you're bound to have heard of Jack Daniels. It's everywhere, the Old No. 7 that is. And to be honest, how many of us in our youth haven't had that staple drink with a JD and Coke? When you think about it, for a staggeringly successful whisky, it does tend to get a bad rap among whisky lovers. But there's an important point to be made here when you think about it. For many, Jack Daniels was the gateway into whisky, and any whisky that leads anyone through that gateway deserves a certain amount of respect. It does in my book anyway. So Jack Daniels is America's oldest registered distillery, dating back to 1866, although it was actually established in Lynchburg, Tennessee in the 1830s. Since 1956, it has been under the Brown-Forman portfolio. So let's get into what makes Jack Daniels unique, and that's the famed Lincoln County process. The process that apparently differentiates JD from America's native spirit, which is bourbon. Now, I'm going to come back to this point later. You see, Jack Daniels identifies as a Tennessee whisky, although many purists argue that it actually does fit the bill to be called bourbon, but the distillery just wanted to market it differently to stand out from the rest of the field. Let's get into now the process from start to end whereby Jack Daniels is made. Now, the company draws the natural limestone water from the nearby Spring Hollow to use in its process. Now, they also make their own barrels using American white oak, as well as crafting their own charcoal, and this happens 3 days a week, and for those 3 days it's 3 times a day. Now, interestingly, this involves stacking pallets of hard sugar maple 5 feet high, dousing them in raw unaged whisky and setting them wood ablaze. Now, that is a pretty cool process. Well, not really pretty cool, pretty bloody hot, because it reaches 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is hot, hot, hot. Jack Daniels uses a mash bill of 80% corn, 12% barley and 8% rye, and the distillation process uses a sour mash method for product consistency, and the mash is fermented for 6 days and distilled only once to 140% proof. Now, this is the point where the Lincoln County process comes in. It's also known as charcoal mellowing, or as the company refer to it, the extra blessing. Now, this is when the clear unaged whisky is filtered through 10 feet of crafted charcoal, and that process takes usually 3 to 5 days. And it is this process that Jack Daniels says makes the product a Tennessee whisky and not a bourbon. The maturation process takes, well, we don't really know, because Jack Daniels don't tell us. In fact, they insist that age isn't always the mark of maturity. They say it's ready when it tastes ready, And the factors determining this are how long and where exactly the barrel has been in the barrel house. It would be fascinating, however, to know what the lowest and highest amount of time, as well as the average, is in the barrel house. But I guess maybe someday we'll find that out, but I wouldn't hold my breath. And with my condition, I don't really have a whole big pile of breath to hold. So let's get on with the tasting and see how it goes. So what do they say about this Legacy Edition? It says it's reminiscent of an early 1900s era design created in Mr. Jack's day. It's a colourful precursor to the now familiar Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 black and white, and a nod of exuberance to the age. Now, quite when this label was first introduced is unclear, but we know it was before in 1904. And how do we know that? Well, the label lacks the familiar gold medal symbol that you can see here on the front of the white label, and that symbol was earned and subsequently adorned all labels after Jack Daniel's won gold at the St. Louis World Whisky Fair in 1904. So let's give it a whirl to see how it fares. Now, straight up, it's very sweet. Very, very sweet. What I'm getting is a very distinct banana note. It's very, very prominent. But coming on the back of that, there's a nice vanilla note, and there's that Lincoln County process comes through, and the nice maple aromas that you get there as well. Now, when you get right into the Glencairn, there along comes some nice dark oak and charcoal, and there's a sweet licorice coming in the back end there as well. Overall, it's a very nice nose. It's mostly sweet, but it has a dark side too, and you know what? It's always good to have a dark side. So let's see how it fares in the palate. Banana up front again, but with it the maple's coming in. There's a nice bit of cinnamon there, a bit like cinnamon on French toast, and some vanilla coming in there as well. Now again, as it lingers a bit, it gets to the back of the palate, and the darker side rises up again with some caramel, a dark oakiness, and a bit of charcoal. But there's also a nice, like, sweet licorice note that comes in there as well. Overall, it's pretty good. Now let's compare it with the Old No. 7 here. Now the nose and the taste of the white label here, it's similar. You've got the banana, the vanilla, the maple, but it's a bit sharper. It just doesn't have the finesse of the limited edition. It's still nice, and I'd be more than happy to drink it straight, but it's just not as good as the Legacy Edition. It's just not. So overall, what do I think of this Legacy Edition? Well, when I picked it up for 20 quid, I was pleasantly surprised by it. It's much better quality than this white label edition we get now. The body's decent. It's not great, but what I really do like about the Legacy Edition is that it's much more robust than the regular. There's a lot more flavour there. It's richer, and at the 43% instead of the 40% of this, it's just got a wee bit more depth. And that makes a hell of a difference to the overall experience when it comes to the nosing and when it comes to the flavour. Now, I quite like when brands do this sort of thing, go back to the past and bring something out like that. It might be a bit gimmicky, but I do like it. It also shows that new models are not always the best. Like, I much prefer the old No. 7 to the new old number 7. That said, I'm a JD fan, and I'm proud to say that, and I like it across the board. It does get a bad rap, but I think that's a tad unfair. It's far from amazing, but at an entry level for me, it's got the flavour and the aromas that I like, and I would say it's a decent pour. Now, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't buy a bottle for what it is now, around 27 quid or so, but I picked this one up the other day and it was 16. You know, that's a steal. That price, buy it all day long, no problem. And even if you don't like it straight, as I say, it's great with cola. Now, if you go up the levels, well, apart from the Gentleman Jack, which is a bit watery, you know, you've got your rye, your barrel strengths, your Sinatras and all those ones that I've tried, they're fantastically good whiskies. So I would urge you to try them when you get the chance. And if you do that, not being a Jack Daniels fan because of this, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and I hope in the next few months to review a couple of the more premium Jack Daniels. As I promised earlier, I'm going to attempt to answer a question that has baffled people for years, divided people for years. Is Jack Daniels a bourbon or is it not? And I'm going to enlist some help. Watch here. Alexa, is Jack Daniels a bourbon?
Jack Daniels is not a bourbon, it's a Tennessee whiskey. Jack Daniels is dripped slowly, drop by drop, through 10 feet of firmly packed charcoal, made from hard sugar maple, before going into new charred oak barrels for maturing.
So there you have it. So that's what Alexa says. What do I reckon? Well, here's what I say, and for me, Jack Daniels is. So there you have it. That's the definitive answer, and it's a fact. You heard it here first. You heard it from Whiskey Straight Al. Take that to the bank. So thanks for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed the review, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell notification. Give me a comment down below about the review, or what you think of Jack Daniels, or what you think about whether it's a bourbon or Tennessee whiskey or not, or just, well, anything at all. And until the next time, you know how it goes. Stay safe and keep on drinking your whiskey the way you like it. And that means with cola or not. Sláinte.